Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2012 AAAS Annual Meeting. This afternoon's plenary panel is Science is Not Enough. Please give a warm welcome to this year's program chairperson and AAAS President, Dr. Nina Fedorov.
Thank you very much. This panel was born of long frustration of coming to AAAS meetings and listening to people, particularly Lou Branscombe, pound the podium and say, we all have to be better communicators. So that's what it's about tonight. And now I just want to introduce our extraordinary moderator, Frank Sesno. He's the creator and host of Planet Forward, a dynamic web-to-television initiative that highlights invention and innovation relating to climate, energy, and sustainability. Some of you will remember that Frank was former CNN Washington bureau chief. He is now the director of the School of Media and Public Affairs at George Washington University. Please welcome today's moderator, Frank Sesno.
Off to a great start. Thank you very much, Nina. And oh, there's a big, dark room out there. Greetings to everybody. I'm so delighted to be here, and I'm so delighted you're here. Nina's right. I have created this thing at the George Washington University that's all about communicating science. It's all about telling stories, and it's all about trying to reach new people. And that's what we're going to do here today. And I hope that we'll engage you in the process. I hope that you'll have a few laughs along the way, that we'll have some provocative conversation, and maybe some things that you can take with you. This event is being webcast, so that we hope people all over the world are watching it. And if they don't, and if you don't have enough now, you can come back later because an edited version will be posted as well. As we go, I mentioned this is interactive, and for any of you who have kids about my kids' age, you know that we all live with clickers and tweeters and things like that, so we want to engage you. And throughout the proceedings, you can tweet a question to us, or you can email a question to us, and, but someone will write it down and bring it out the analog way, so we appreciate that. As Nina mentioned, I have for many years sort of fancied myself someone who conveys information. Television has an amazing capacity to reach and to teach. It's just one way we do it, though, now, because there are so many different forms of media. There are so many different kinds of things that we can do. And I've been fortunate over my career to interview a bunch of presidents and Senator Blowhard and Congressman Windbag. And, you know, we come from Washington, where we say the definition of a best friend is someone who stabs you in the chest. So, you know, it's an important thing to capture someone's true character and to tell the story. But seriously, the big thing is to be responsible, to tell the story, to convey the information, to help people learn so that they can be more active, more informed, and more engaged citizens. But in this world that we're in, it's harder than ever, because the audience is so fragmented and disaggregated. And with what we face on the planet, we could argue that it is more urgent than ever. And yet we can't quite agree on the role science plays, what we really think about climate change, creation, stem cell research, and on it goes. As I said, it's why I started this Planet Forward project, which was to get more voices involved in the discussion, to inform and to inspire along the way. Benjamin Sander has said, scientists are in a street fight. So, communicating that science is part of the street fight. And it's some of what we'll do today, communicating, not the street fight. I hope by the end you'll have some ideas, some how-tos. And as I mentioned, I hope very much that you'll send your questions our way. Now, you also have keypads, right? So you can vote on things. So let's do a little warm-up, and let's see how you do. I'm very interested in what we've got. I can't see very well out there, because how many actual practice, you know, I'm a scientist in the room? Hands? Good. Just about everybody. All right, so the first question on your keypads, in your view, is global climate change a very serious problem? somewhat serious, not too serious, or not a problem at all. So obviously, if you think it's very serious, you press 1, somewhat serious 2. I realize this is very complicated data, but I'm sure you can get through this. 4, not a problem, or if you're unsure, just hit 5. And the responses are pouring in. This is almost as exciting as the primary they just had there. All right, so very serious, somewhat serious, not too serious, not a problem, unsure. And the results? There we go. Okay. 77% of you think it's very serious. 17, somewhat serious, not too serious, 2, not a problem, 2, go back to school, 2. Okay, how do you compare with the public? Very serious. The last poll by the Pew Research Center in November of 2011, 38% said very serious, 27 said somewhat, 16 said not too serious, and 17% said not a problem at all. So there is our first indication of a divide between the scientific community and the public at large. Take a look at the trend line. You'll see what the public has been doing. Actually, it's ticked up a little bit, saying very serious, but it's essentially down from 47% in 09 to 38% now. Let's try another question. Second one here, we'll do 2. Do you believe the Earth is getting warmer? Let's get to where it's coming from, right? Mostly because of human activity, such as the burning of fossil fuels, or mostly because of natural patterns. And once again, if you think it's human activity, press 1. Natural patterns, 2. Don't know, 3. Not enough evidence, 4. Or unsure, 5. No, I am not going to dance. And yes, we do have the public that we're going to compare this to once we see the votes tally. Polling, 86%, wow. 86% say human activity. All right, who knows what the percentage is for human activity? Call it out, anybody? 40%, do I hear? 20%, do I hear? It's 38%. 38% say human activity, this last poll. 18, natural patterns. 6% say don't know. 2% say there isn't any, no evidence. And 9% are unsure. There's a lot of teaching to do, apparently. The trend line, if we look at the trend line there, look at that. Human activity is way down. Why is this happening? Why is science so under siege? Why, as the title of our panel today indicates, is science not enough? So I have a class at GW, and I asked my students to take their cameras, a little bit of a jaywalking thing. By the way, those numbers are US numbers. I suspect we'd find a very different public opinion if that same poll were conducted here in Canada, or certainly in Europe, where I know many of you are from. So I asked my students, go on out, let's see what that uncertainty sounds like. Ask people what they think about and what they know about sustainability. Ask them what they know about global climate change. Here's what they came back with.
What does sustainability mean?
Sustainability means not like wasting.
I'm not sure about that one.
Helping the trees, which provide oxygen. The trees provide oxygen, yeah.
It's kind of confusing as far as like the raising temperatures, because right now we're not at the highest temperatures that have been in history. So it's still kind of like, that's still like debatable as far as like to the extent that like climate change is going on.
I think the problem is just like anything else, there's so much information out about everything. Like, you know what I mean? One day something's good for you, one day something's bad for you. One day the environment's in turmoil, one day it's all fine.
Sooner or later, somebody will figure it out and see what's supposed to happen. The younger people are coming out, like you all. You can make it happen.
I guess I kind of just go on like living my day-to-day life, not really worrying about it. At the end, I don't really know how much can really be done.
Well, penguins are my favorite animal, so I hope that their habitat is still around. I want them to be able to play on the ice.
I love my job, but there are days. There are days. So we have a lot of work to do. And our panel today is going to help us do that work. They are amazing. They are simply the most remarkable panelists, exceptional communicators. They personify what we're up against, and they're doing a lot about it. So they will help us explore why science is not enough and how science can be accompanied by something else called communication. You know several of these people. Dr. James Hansen heads NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies in New York City. As you know, that's part of the Goddard Space Flight Center. He's adjunct professor in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Columbia University. He's dedicated his career, his life, to studying Earth's atmosphere, global climate change. The New York Times wrote about him, Dr. Hansen has pushed far beyond the boundaries of the conventional role of scientists. He sure has. Please welcome Dr. James Hansen.
Probably the high point.
That was the high point? Why was that the high point?
No, the big laugh.
Oh, the big laugh. So how'd you get on Letterman? I mean, just the book go out there and because the title was so provocative, or is this something that, are you and he friends or something?
No,
that was 09, right? That was
I think the publisher asked around, and he's actually quite interested in this topic. He's mentioned it a number of times.
And how many media appearances would you say you've made because of that book?
Not very many.
Really?
Well, right, because I'm a government scientist and I did this on my spare time, and I'm not even getting royalties for it. They're going to 350.org. I have a day job.
Do you like doing media? Do you like sitting in front of cameras and microphones and people and talking about this stuff?
Well, I'm not as uncomfortable as I used to be, but I don't like it, and I stayed out intentionally.
So if you could pick media or the dentist, which would you rather do? Tough choice, right?
Well, I think I'd take the media, but that's partly a case of what I feel and now responsible for trying to communicate, even though it's not my cup of tea.
Well, we'll talk about that in your cup of tea, so please have a seat, and we'll move on to our next panelist, Dr. Olivia Judson, a remarkable woman who's an evolutionary biologist, a tremendous science writer, author of Dr. Tatiana's Sex Advice to All Creation. I certainly recommend you pick the book up. Don't read it to children under 10. It will be she's been all over television and radio, and she really grew up surrounded by science and surrounded by the communication of science. Her father was Horace Judson, a historian of molecular biology, had been the correspondent for Time magazine, subsequently wrote for The New Yorker and Nature, author of The Eighth Day of Creation, which is still in print, published in 1979. Her New York Times column, The Wild Side. But she does something else, too. Dr. Olivia Judson. So, what's the point? Your role in life is to connect people to information. You just like TV. You like writing shocking book titles or something?
I like writing. I like science. My background's in biology.
And what's this Dr. Tatiana's thing? Because you got that turned into a television show. I mean, that's it's an amazing thing. It's like bugs writing in for sex advice.
So I was at a party one evening, and when I was working as a journalist a long time ago, and we were joking about what it would be like if you were Dr. Ruth getting letters, you know, "Dear Dr. Ruth, my lover has just exploded." And so then we decided that actually that would be a good idea for a column, so I did a one-off piece for The Economist, and then I turned it into a book.
And it was a remarkable way to connect a fascinating topic with an unconventional delivery system and science. And you told me it's about to be translated into...
It's just appeared in Russian.
In Russian?
Yeah.
Well, they need some help there. I mean, you know, a little diversion would be a good thing. So we'll talk about that and more. Thanks. Finally, our panelist here has attracted hundreds of thousands of people to learn the excitement of numbers, the excitement of looking up on their laptop or on their handheld device to see this remarkable, charismatic man. And Dr. Hans Rosling is said that in his hands, data sing. Wow. Professor of International Health at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, a doctor, an academic, a statistician, and he's chairman of something called the Gapminder Foundation, which developed this thing he's called the Trendalizer software system, which he will explain. He and it specialize in demographic